Hello, this is Michael Enso with Advertising Report Card, and today we are going over RV for America. So what our plan is for RV for America is to cover all three channels of social ads, SEO, and PPC, in addition to looking at their website, because if you're going to pay for traffic, you want it to convert. So we're going to dive into all those different aspects and be very direct because there's a lot of ground to cover. So let's jump right in. As far as how the report card works, we do a review and audit of everything that's already in place with your company, the things that you are doing, the things that you aren't doing, plus your competitors. We're going to record this video, which is what you're watching right now, to provide the instruction on how to improve what you're doing. And then afterwards, we have a one-on-one to go through this video. So when you're watching this, please make sure you have notes out, type them, write them, whatever works best for you, because we're going to be discussing this on the call. And the more details that you have that you want to go into, the better the result of the report card. Once we go through that conversation, we're going to give you all the guidance you need to put this into action, whether if you want to do it, want us to do it. The point of this is to make sure that whatever you do, that you have the best possible outcome. So the next portion of this is the assets. We've linked to a folder with the reports that we pulled, plus keyword report, which is very important for this. Main reason is for the RV industry, there is a customer base that thinks of camper and thinks of RV. And that's what we're going to really focus on the search side. In addition, we're going to be looking at social and how to make sure the website converts better as well. The main goal is to create a baseline for the social ad strategy because the degree of where the competitors are positioned, there's a lot of opportunity to overtake some competitors. Meanwhile, there are a few in the nation that are extremely strong. So not only can we look at what they're doing to emulate what they're doing, but you want to make sure that when you go to market, that we don't make the same mistakes that your competitors who are currently making mistakes, that you want to avoid those. So another thing we're going to be looking at is the actual SEO ranking. A huge thing again is the difference between camper and RV and the traffic related to that. We're going to cover the PPC strategy as to what we want to target for that as well. There is a really interesting opportunity on the PPC side for conquest campaigns, which we'll dive into here shortly. Plus, we're going to go through the site first, actually, to make sure that when you do pay for this additional traffic, that you're going to get the best results from it. You do not want to pay for traffic if the people who are going to your site are getting lost or they're bouncing. So let's dive right into the first few things. So instead of actually pulling up the site and just kind of walking through, I took screenshots of the site to segment the areas that are problematic. And I wanted to have a quick discussion about that. I do not want to take too much time on this because the actual action items are in a bulletproof list. But at the same time, I want to explain them. So on the home page, this is what it looks like for the above fold section. What the above fold is, it's like a newspaper. When you look at a newspaper, the very first thing you see is the headline, big picture, content. That's what makes people buy newspapers. The human psyche is familiar with going to a website and seeing exactly what they want to see right front and center. So with this site, the main thing I'm looking at is spacing. We have a really odd negative space below the menu, and it's due to the logo on the top left. This negative space is pushing the entire site down, so you're really sacrificing a lot of very important real estate for this section. Now, we don't want to get in the way of the logo. The logo is very important. The very least, I would consider shortening it or just having RV for America, the text, and then making sure that the country with the flag is utilized elsewhere. But the main thing is that this is some of the most valuable real estate on your website. Whether your budget is $100 a month or $1 million a month, when you send traffic to a website, the point of it is to turn it into a lead and a customer. This is a lead gen site. People can go all the way through booking and requesting, but the main thing is there's the initial booking, getting them on the phone, getting them to fill out that initial form, first name, last name, email, phone number. That's all done on site before they move to the booking engine. So it's key to make sure that when you're sending traffic to the website, no matter where they're at, that the homepage is the strongest converter. So we have this negative space we want to close up. And the next thing I was going to mention is the buttons. So blue in itself is calm. You never want to come off as calm in regards to what your customer's looking for. You want them to feel like they should book now. So the text is book now, But another thing with this is that it's a dark blue against a light gradient blue. If you have any degree of color blindness, reading those buttons is going to be difficult. But the thing is, you don't need to be colorblind to realize that these buttons are difficult to read and see. I would imagine that there's a healthy amount of traffic that gets to this page and browses past this section because the buttons are not gripping them and they're not staying because of that. Next, what I would recommend is increasing the size of them and also changing the color. The brand of the company itself has a nice quality dark blue in the flag with that nice bright contrasting red like the American flag. Either make both of these buttons red or one blue and one red, but match that dark blue with that white text and get that red button with that white text as well and make them large. Make people realize that these are really the only two things you should be doing when you get to this site. Make it so evident that there is no reason for anyone to even use the primary navigation or scroll down. It's almost a failure with this fold if people don't take an immediate action. So, funny as it might seem, just adjusting these buttons is going to have a big impact. And I expect that out here in this bullet list. The next thing is the actual rental page. So let's say we click call us now. You're going to call. Book now, you're going to book. I would swap the positions of these buttons first of all, because unless you want everybody to call you instead of just booking, you're effectively prompting people to call instead of book, which could be problematic. So we're going to want people to book now and then call. What happens if they want to go to the book now page? This section I thought was really interesting. There is so much real estate being used for this header. The actual image isn't bad. It looks like her hand is moving, so there's like the double thumb. People really aren't going to be looking at that image too hard. It's subliminal. But the idea is you have this big text that says rentals. Not RV rentals, not camper rentals, just rentals. Change the headline, and then you have RV for America Fleet. I get that it's branding. Be more specific if you're going to take up this much real estate about what people are looking for. RVs, motorhomes, traveler vans, trailers. This would be your ideal section to segment who's looking for what versus just scrolling down to all rentals. So depending on what the capability of the website is, I would absolutely add a few options here. But at the very least, if you can't, or even if you don't want to, take this whole area down like 50%. I would change the headline to make it more keyword oriented and also more clear. And I would add a little bit of a blurb here as to explain to what people can expect, whether it's best pricing or best quality or whatever is going to help pre-frame the sale of the rental. This is very important. So as far as the navigation issues, I cropped out in this image, but this page still has the same navigation issues as the home page. But what happens after that is even if you scroll down past this fold, you have this entire white space section of search RVs and dates. It's almost like you have a double headline section because this is directly below the fold. And this is your headline. Why not consolidate these two spaces and bring this text up here, bring this text up here? So that's one thing I was going to say immediately. Also, in addition to that, I would swap this content, search RVs and dates. I would change the word dates to save or something, but when it's red, it's meant to look like it's clickable. So you might be causing some confusion, and also if it's red with blue text, people are looking for the word sale, special, discount. This matches the branding as far as the red, white, and blue. That's the brand, RV for America. But you have to consider the person, the user's psyche and how they are interpreting your website and gear it towards the consumer. Branding is important, but you never want to sacrifice user experience for branding. And this might seem nitpicky or small, but those small tweaks make a big difference in your conversion rate. So I have that all mapped out here in these bullet points as well. Last but not least is like once somebody converts, they pick their ride and they start to check out as far as booking dates go, it pushes them to wheelbasepro.com, which is the booking engine for the website. So the main thing I wanted to talk about here is tracking conversions. When you are vaulting someone to another page, the issue that can come up is tracking those conversions properly to Facebook and to Google Ads. So what you're going to want to do is cross-domain tracking with Google Tag Manager, meaning that you have two tracking scripts for both websites and that you track them together in one container or shell for all of your tracking code. What that means is that you'll be able to pull data from the third-party website and put it back into Facebook and Google. This is far from perfect. It's always best to try to keep everything on one domain when it comes to booking, but that's not always the case. Sometimes you have to use that third party. Sometimes the third party requires that you vault their traffic to them because you're not able to embed their entire process on your website, which would lead me to my next point. What options do we have for that? Can we bring somebody through the entire booking process on your website, and when they're done, have them go to a thank you page on your website? Because if that's the case, that's the best scenario that you would want. Because not only can you track that thank you URL and the sourcing of it, but then you're bringing people back to your site that they have completed what they needed to do, and then that's when you can prompt them to take their next action. Whether it's like you on Facebook or a call to confirm or whatever action you want someone to take. In this instance, honestly, what I would say is maybe push people to what happens after they rent. Because one thing about RV for America, and you can see this on their About page, is that they have content that's geared towards helping people who are maybe not familiar with renting an RV with guidance on how to use the RV. How cool would it be if you had a thank you page that was already guiding them through the experience, so before they hear from your sales rep, they're already educating themselves on what it's going to take that RV out. That's what we like to call a hook in progression for the sale. Once you get the lead, you don't want them to get another quote. How could you keep them from getting another quote? Continue to treat them like they're already a customer. Next, what we're going to hop into directly, instead of doing generic social ad strategy, we're going to dive directly into the competitors, because what I found is a weird cascading strategy across all of the different competitors, and cascading meaning volume of advertising that they're doing. We're going to start with Cruise America because they are absolutely the whale when it comes to advertising on social platforms. So they have over 52 ads running right now with a budget exceeding $10K per month on Facebook alone. That budget is shared between Instagram to an extent, but they have a budget that they can spend on Insta in addition. Facebook is spending $10,000 per month alone. Across those 52 ads, what you can see, one moment, is you have you have a $10,000 budget divided by 52. So each of these ads that are running have their own budget of a little bit underneath $200 per ad per month. Meaning that if you have 192 divided by 30, each of these ads have about $6.40 per day to run. That's interesting because that's honestly not a bad budget per ad. The thing is, they have so many variations of ads running that anybody who's really interested in renting an RV is absolutely going to come across these ads, and they have an excellent hook, a pre-frame to why people should work with them. It's their 50th birthday, aka anniversary, and they're offering discounts. They're offering discount codes. In some instances, they're offering 50% off or $5,000 discounts to buy a trailer or a RV. Also, what's important to notice here is that they are using a mix between images and video. So you have some very heavy promo-driven image ads focusing on the 50% off, plus some very scenic, well-edited. This is not an image that someone just took with their iPhone. This is heavily edited. And then you also have some video ads as well. The thing that's interesting, too, about this is they mixed in carousel. So as they run these ads, they are taking all the creative that they generate. You can see here, these pictures of these different vehicles are actually shared across all of the different ads. So they did photo shoots for their different vehicles and different placements. Granted, honestly, you could do this by taking the person who's renting the vehicles, images that they've taken on the road, maybe as a request, maybe as a feature. Maybe you give them $50 in additional off when they return the RV if they give you a photo dump of all the pictures they took of the RV while they were camping. But the idea is they have these pieces of creative, whether they source them themselves or not, or whether they took the RV out themselves or not, they have a great mix. And in that mix, they're trying different placements. They're doing still images, videos, carousel. They're really hitting all the different spots that you would want to hit. In addition to that, they're selling the RVs, which is part of what RV for America also does. So you can see that they're covering all of their bases, but they're not just doing that. They're testing what's working. Nighttime with stars, daytime with the clouds in the sky. People buy a campfire. People buy a monument, or not a monument, sorry, a national park where you have different items in that park, like mountains and what have you. I was just in Utah, and the Arches is a huge hit, as an example. But they have over 52 ads running, the strongest competitor on social. Best thing about that is the other competitors that were submitted when they filled out the form, not so hot. Tropical RV Adventures. What's the first thing that you see that's different about these ads? Quality. Placement. It's really focused about the trailer, and it's very generic. It almost looks like they took these two pictures together in the same park while these trailers were parked next to each other. But there's really not that scenic feel to it. This one, good. You got the campfire here. But I mean, look at this on the inside interior picture. It almost looks like a bad Airbnb picture. It's just, I get that trailers are small and that's how trailers look on the inside, but look at the editing. It's dark. It almost looks haunted. So while they're running ads, and granted, they're probably generating leads off of this, would it be too hard to be a perceived higher quality than this competitor in particular? Tropical RV Adventures is absolutely a competitor that can be overtaken by simply taking some of these concepts and spinning them so that's RV for America. But you have to do it in bulk too. There's no way that these ads are just constantly producing. If anything, they might have produced a little bit, and the cost per production has just gone up over time. So the cost per lead for these ads is forever increasing because they only have so much in circulation. And what they have in circulation, I could see this ad, and this ad maybe making a move, but I think this is counterintuitive. If I was them, I would pause this ad unless it's just killing it. But how many people do you think saw the image of this interior and were like, oh, I want that? I couldn't tell you, but I would imagine it's not a lot. So that's a really important thing to also look at. Let's hop into Harvey RVs. This is someone that we could absolutely overtake. They're pitching a sale for are you still interested? Still available, exclamation point. These are absolutely the worst ads that we've seen while doing our research for RVs. It's almost as if they should just run no ads. They're trying to sell this equipment, but they're only selling these models, they're only selling 2 of them. And it's just really not well done ads. You can tell that these were heavily outsourced, most likely, or done with like an app. You see, like they kind of like just placement holder with the logo and then the above fold section and then a little bit of generic text here. Looks like Times New Roman. And then you have the images. This is just, it's not appealing. I mean, I know this isn't a pontoon video, but why not have a picture of the pontoon in the water? Sorry. And then also the trailer. People don't even know what they're looking at in this picture. Harvey RVs are going to have a hard time competing against RV for America with the proper strategy launched. So we wanted to compare to another competitor that we found that isn't Harvey RV and isn't Tropical RV, and that is Go RVing. They're much more comparable to the Cruise America competitor. Reason being is that they have a number of ads, but one thing that's very interesting about Go RVing is they are heavily video oriented. They're putting big production into their video, and they're investing in creating videos that are gripping. And you see, like, go slow, and it's a turtle crossing the path. Go fast, and it's somebody doing an excursion. drop the vacation, somebody's struggling to pack their car. This page has 815,000 likes. So of all the content they've put out, they've absolutely gone viral multiple times. It's not a new company. So another one to keep your eye on with Cruise in America is Go RVing. And also, one of the things I wanted to point out is they're testing on the carousel. Me personally, I could give and take on carousel. I mean, it's really important for e-commerce to run dynamic ads and show multiple products. What I thought was pretty clever is they have multiple images which just go across it. And then they have your individual statements. Go with the crowd. Go on your own. So in this instance, what you would want to do is have a frequency cap. So if somebody saw this ad right here on the left side once, don't let them see it again, and then show them the next one. Because what you're doing is you're subliminally planting the narrative behind going, and then you are then saying, go this way, go that way. And then that's like the idea behind that. And then also, you have the toy. Weekends are for going faster. So this is a really good competitor, I think, between Go RVing and Cruise America. There's a lot to be learned about positioning. The main thing is do not make the same mistakes as Tropical RV. Do not do that. You're going to waste a lot of budget. So let's hop into the SEO audit. Again, this is pretty straightforward, and we have a whole plan to counteract this, but your average position for the keyword you want to target is 81. That might seem kind of extreme, and it is. You actually rank number 1 for your core city keyword, RV rentals Jupiter. Now, what you don't rank for are the variations. Rent an RV in Jupiter. You rank for it, don't get me wrong, but you're not number 1 for a lot of different ways that people search for renting an RV in Jupiter. One thing that you should see up here is camper and similar searches to how other people identify. When you say RV, everyone's thinking super stretch, huge RV, the person who pulls up at the campground with the biggest, baddest bus that you can find, all the amenities. RV versus camper. Camper is like that traveling camping vibe. We're in Florida. People are also looking for campers to the tune of an extremely comparable value. So what I wanted to show you here is the difference. RV is going to overtake as far as the overall volume. But if you look at camper, right underneath RV rentals, RV rental near me, and RV sharing, which, again, we're not doing that. You have camper rental, camper van rental, camper rentals near me, and then motorhome rental. So I know that this is a big number nationally, 450,000. Take some of these other variations and add them together. It won't be very long, if you can see this number down here, until you catch up to this number. So while you rank for RV Rentals Jupiter, there's a finite amount of people searching for that specific keyword. You have to look at the semantics of how other people are searching. So that's why I wanted to point out that while you rank number 1 for one keyword, which is great, it's going to be a finite amount of traffic. Not only do you need to rank for more regions, and then also the near me, close by, nearby keywords, but in general, just camper rentals Jupiter, it's hit or miss with how you're ranking. Now, if you're in your vicinity and you search some of those keywords that I'm addressing to you, your ranking may vary, but this is an overall ranking system based off of all of your competitors, not just local but national, and you're effectively driving 0.25% of all traffic that can be driven based off of the keywords that you're looking for, your visibility being 4.25%, meaning that even though you're visible between pages 1 through 4, they always say the best place to hide a dead body is on the second page of Google. You have visibility, but you're not getting traffic, and the position is growing. You're definitely doing some format of SEO, or something had been done on the site to get picked up for ranking, which is great. You're number 1 for one of your core regions service. That's absolutely farther along than a lot of the people that we see. But we're talking about like one stick in a pile, one toothpick in a case. It's like one stick of gum in a pack. You have to have more rankings for more keywords in order to drive aggregate traffic, or you're going to live and die on one keyword that has a finite amount of traffic. And we also show this as a visual. RV Rentals America, one thing that really took my eye on this is that RV4 America, RV Rentals America, RV4 America Rentals, because of the word America, you're actually not ranking for your own brand name. It's not very common to see that. And that is something in itself, that's something that you have to kind of look at and think of how much of people are looking for you and end up going to your competitors. What if somebody searched RV4 America and you're not number one? You will be because of branding and the domain and your GMB to an extent. If somebody does RV America Rentals, you're losing that traffic to your competitors. So there's a lot to be said about just really building SEO around your brand keywords. I know just as an example, like Brooks Moving and Hauling, as someone down the street in a different industry, they're not going after, Jupiter Moving and Hauling. If their name is Brooks, if they have that branding. Your branding is America. So your competition is America. And it's not like you're going to change the brand or the domain of the website. All three of those are awesome. But you have to realize where you've positioned yourself as a brand. You are going to be giving away traffic if you're not ranking for your core terms, which fortunately is a really great keyword, RV Rentals America. Unfortunately, it's very competitive. So you have to do SEO for that. Which brings me to my next point. You're ranking well for Jupiter because your GMB is in Jupiter. GMB meaning your literal address for the caption is for Jupiter. You're in Indiantown Road, Jupiter. Indiantown does go through, it's not the same road, but there's an Indiantown in, I guess like Stewart. Like South Stewart, North Hope Sound. But you're ranking because of this, Jupiter. Google's going to give you the benefit of the doubt based off of your GMB of 40 reviews, 4.9, meaning one wasn't a 5-star, but you're doing pretty well for that Jupiter specific keyword. So you're going to always rank well locally for that. What you're going to have problems with, though, is ranking for other city keywords. And then also, RV4 America, camper as a keyword, if you don't want to show for it, focus on the RV keywords and whatnot, but you got to admit there's probably the same amount of people that you could take from the camper crowd and give to one of your other pieces of inventory. I'm trying to show some inventory now, but I wanted to point out that this embed from the booking engine takes a long time to load. Not always ideal, as you can see here. I actually had the video paused. It was loading for about twice as long as what you just saw. But I will say this. I'm looking at these, and I see 3 different vehicles. Call me ignorant because I'm from Missouri, and this is just maybe how I identify with these vehicles. This bus looks like the RV that everyone would imagine. That's absolutely a camper. That's like a travel van. It's a camper, I get it, but how are people really perceiving that? In addition, Rent a Winnebago, do you want to give that traffic away to the rideshare people, or are you trying to rent this Winnebago? Ranking for Winnebago as a keyword, not that easy. But if you tie it into rent service, Winnebago brand in Jupiter region, what you did is created a long tail keyword that someone would search if they want to look for that specific bit. So while you might not rank for that at all, you're opening. What I'm trying to do is open the door to understanding that you have one keyword. Again, live or die on that keyword. But what about this? I'm looking at this page and I'm thinking to myself, I see 2 legit RVs. This is definitely an RV. And when I say legit, what I mean is perception-wise of your customers. You have 4 RVs. This is looking more like a camper, van. So from the outside looking in, it looks like a third of your inventory isn't ranking at all. Maybe it's 2/3. So we have to counteract that with the SEO. Now, we're at the 30-minute mark for this video. These are only supposed to go 30 minutes, but I want to run through this specifically. We have an advanced SEO strategy, so I wanted to put this in your report. This is actually only what we give to our paying SEO clients once they sign up. This is extremely detailed. I want you to go through it. I'm not going to spend a lot of time now, but I want to show you the reports with it. That way you can go through it. This is what we do just in month 1 for our core local SEO plan. This isn't even the highest plan that we have. This is mid-tier, which is what you'll need. You can't do low-tier for what you're doing or you're not going to rank. But all of this work is what's going to get you to rank outside of Jupiter. So Jensen, Tequesta, Hobe Sound, Stewart, Palm Beach, West Palm Beach, anything in that area, your 30-mile radius to your bubble, this is the amount of work that goes into what we do to make sure that you rank properly. So make sure to go through this and let me know if you have any questions on this. But between GMB posting, press releases, content writing, geo-tracking, geo-fencing, patch articles, YouTube, G-News, silo pages, social posting, there's a lot that goes into this, and the reason being is that we're effectively working against AI in 2022. Now, I don't know how much you know about this, whoever you are watching this video, but AI is taking over the internet. It's already here. Quantum computing exists. Google, Facebook, they have language semantic tools that if you're a programmer, you can tap into their database and utilize it to produce content. To the tune of some people are launching sites overnight and having thousands of pages created with artificial intelligence. Google has publicly came out and said that they're going to rank AI worse or not at all if it seems spammy. Funny thing about that article is it was literally written by AI, Google's AI engine. And they made that a point to say, too, what you're reading was actually written by AI, so it's that difficult to distinguish. So with that being said, I wanted to hop into the PPC side of SEO. Without drawing this out, what I wanted to point out is what we're ranking for, what we should focus on for PPC, and the idea of cherry picking and targeting what you don't rank for until you rank for it, and then having the realization that if you wanted to be number 1 in Fort Lauderdale for organic, wow, I can't believe I just found a spelling error. Sorry. Being number 1 for organic in those other cities will take work. And if that work is done, Google says it'll take up to 90 days to rank you for that work. So the solution to this is, I'm going to be very direct and brief about it. Cherry pick the keywords you don't rank for until you rank for them and drive that traffic, especially for camper. But know that you're probably never going to rank number 1 for some of the keywords in the cities that you want to rank for unless you open an additional location in that area with an address that you can have a GMB for. Not like a mailbox address. Sometimes even residential gets flagged. Or if there's like a apartment building and on the first floor there's multiple businesses or even a mail office, Google is vicious when it comes to trying to find people who are doing things that they shouldn't do. That is gray hat, like creating multiple Google My Business locations. They're really cracking down on that. And what I mean vicious is that if they even think that you're doing that, you can get your GMB listing banned. Changing the hours on your GMB can literally penalize your GMB temporarily while Google sorts out why the GMB was changed. This is all algorithmic. Yes, I think that's the way I say it. And it's something that the user, us, doesn't always have control over unless you do it a specific way. But I wanted to end this video on this. Just because you don't rank for those keywords doesn't mean you can't bid on them. So that's what's really important. Another thing I wanted to mention is how you are bidding on the positioning and who your real competitors are. Outdoorsy wasn't listed at all as far as the submission goes. Plus, when we were doing our research on social, it didn't necessarily pop out for RV rentals specifically because Outdoorsy does a lot of different stuff. But man, they are coming for Jupiter and every other city that they want to do RV rentals in with a number one position. They're basically targeting impression and position versus actual bidding on like your cost per click. And what I mean by that is they're paying a premium for this placement. And you can see these links, link 1, link 2, link 3, link 4. They have this whole portion of real estate for Jupiter because no one in Jupiter is bidding properly for this keyword. You could overtake this and push them down. And you know what happens when you do that? These site links get consolidated into one line right here. It'll probably wipe out their rating too because Google needs to have enough real estate for the regular listings and the map listings. So they're always swapping out which ad extensions are shown. But Outdoorsy's not going to like RV for America very much when they take back their Jupiter keywords. But up until now, anybody searching for RV rentals Jupiter, you can rank number one all you want. I would imagine that at least 30 to 40% of your traffic is going to this listing. And there is a lot of data, including from our clients, that shows that while ranking number one will generate you a lot of calls and a lot of traffic, PPC is absolutely generating more calls and clicks to your website than the map listing and the organic listing combined right now. And it's because of the usability. Ads have gotten better to look at. I mean, does this even look like an ad? You wouldn't even know if it was an ad or not unless you realize that there's a little thing right here in the top left that says ad. RV for America should be doing this exact strategy. And they should be doing it better because they are Jupiter-centric, Jupiter GMB centric. Tying the GMB into the Google Ads campaign for this account would be class because you'd be beating out these national competitors. So I wanted to end on that. We're about almost 40 minutes in now, but let's have the one-on-one, go through everything that you want to go through, any questions that you have. As far as the actual overall budget goes, I put together a calculator for the revenue. I want to go through this with you. I just clocked in at $3,000 ad spend with a typical monthly management fee. And then the cost per click is averaging around $8 for what we saw. What this basically shows is how many clicks you're going to get. If you had a 10% conversion rate, how many appointments or leads you would have to call that person and say, hey, what's going on? And then if you are going to quote all of them and then only 70% close, what you're looking at is if the average money that you generate is $5,000 per rental and your profit margin is 25%, with a $3,000 ad spend and $2,500 management, your net profit would be $27,000 with a net profit percentage of 83%. So I wanted to just show this, and I wanted to get your feedback on this as well. If you have any questions, please let me know. You have access to all of these items. Looking forward to talking to you more and working with you more to make sure that what you launch works. There's a lot of ways to spend a lot of ad budget. Well, I think it was David Ogilvy, the old ad agency exec from New York, that said, I spend 100% of our ad budget, and 50% of our ad budget is responsible for our business's growth. The other 50% of the ad budget is thrown into the fire pit. The only problem is I don't know which one is which. The point of digital ads and attribution and tracking is to know which one is which so that you're not throwing your budget in the fireplace. This is Michael Ensor with Advertising Report Card. This is marketing for RV rentals, for RVs for America. Looking forward again to working with you guys.